phones, Babylons can't crack the code.
With the college football regular season officially concluding, we are now approaching the postseason, starting off with Conference Championship Weekend. In today's video, I'm going to be talking about my most surprising and disappointing teams of the 2022 college football season. Now, before I move on, remember to smash that like button and subscribe if you haven't already. Now let's get into it. The first team I'm going to be talking about in today's video is a surprising team, and that's TCU. Heading into the 2022 college football season, TCU, they weren't ranked, and people thought they were going to be a middle-of-the-road Big 12 team, finishing anywhere from 6-6 to 8-4. Nobody really saw this team having the season they're having now, and even being in the Big 12 championship game. People knew they had potential to make some noise in year one under Sonny Dykes with their roster, but people have been saying that the past few years, and people wanted to see it happen first. And they're going to be a lock for the college football playoff if they can simply just beat K-State one more time in the Big 12 championship game. They've exceeded every expectation that they had going into the year, and TCU has been one of the more excited teams to keep up with in college football. And honestly, I kind of want them to win the Big 12 so we can see them in the college football playoff. Flipping the script and looking at disappointing teams now, I'm staying in the Big 12 with this one, and it's the Oklahoma Sooners. If you're going to be talking about disappointing teams in 2022, you have to bring up Oklahoma. I understand that they have a first-year head coach, and that nearly half of their roster is new or playing their most significant time in a Sooner uniform for the first time ever. But you can't say they were not disappointing in 2022. Came in as a top 10 team. Started off the season really hot, looking like a great team that was completely changed overnight. However, things started to really fall apart during the season, and now Oklahoma is 6-6. They went 3-6 in conference play. The offense, in my opinion, wasn't terrible. They averaged nearly 33 points a game, but there were a couple times where the offense wasn't as great as people really expected it to be, and the defense overall had a ton of ups and downs throughout the season. Now, I do expect Oklahoma to be better in 2023, but if we're going to be real, you have to say that Oklahoma was disappointing in 2022. Now, despite having a disappointing year, it's not over for Brent Venables at Oklahoma, and a lot of people still believe in him for the future. On to the next team that I have as surprising. It is the Tulane Green Wave. Tulane is having a fantastic 22 campaign. They're 10-2, a top 25 team in the nation. They're in the AAC championship game versus UCF, and if they beat a good UCF squad, they're going to clinch a New Year's Six Bowl spot for this year's bowl games in 2022-2023. Tulane is 10-2, and if you need to know anything about this Tulane squad this year, they're playing some very good football, and if you look at them just a season ago in 2021, they went 2-10 and only won one conference game in the AAC. This year, 10-2, 7-1 in conference play, and they have some good wins, such as beating Kansas State on the road. Kansas State is a top 25 team right now. And most recently, Tulane clinched a spot for their title game when they traveled all the way to Cincinnati, playing in a tough Cincinnati environment. They beat the Bearcats 27-24, ending Cincinnati's long home win streak. How can you hate Tulane in 2022? They've been a great team, and I'm rooting for them for the AAC. Hope they can win it, go to the New Year's Six Bowl, and show everyone what Green Wave football is really about. Going back to the disappointing side, the next team I'm going to be talking about is Baylor. Baylor, just like OU heading into 2022, was a top 10 team. They came in at number 10 and had a lot of preseason expectations. When you looked at a bunch of the media votes, people expected Baylor to repeat and win the Big 12 for the second year in a row. They were really special in 2021, as Baylor went 12-2 and finished 5th in the final AP poll. They had a great year and won the Big 12 title, and even won the Sugar Bowl over Ole Miss. However, this year in 2022, Baylor did not meet any of the expectations that people had upon them. They went 6-6. 4-5 in conference play, and overall didn't look like the same team that they were last season. Now, they did lose a lot of key players on defense and offense from that squad from 2021 to 2022, but still, you have to include Baylor on this list. They're 6-6. They had a lot of the votes to win the Big 12, repeating for a second year in a row, and they did none of that. They finished 6-6. They started the year off pretty good, looking like a good team, but ultimately they started to flutter out in the last few games, as they're on currently a 3-game losing streak, losing to K-State, TCU, and Texas in their final 3. Going back to the surprising side and staying in the Big 12, the next team I'm going to be talking about is K-State. K-State currently in the 2022 college football season is 9-3 with a 7-2 conference record, and they're going to be taking on TCU in the Big 12 championship game, looking for some revenge and to win the Big 12 title. K-State has been a team that's battled through injury issues pretty much the entire season. However, that has not stopped them from being one of the better teams in the nation and one of the better teams in the Big 12. They are in the Big 12 championship after all, and they are currently number 13 in the college football playoff poll. This is a team that's battled through a lot of injuries this entire season, and despite all that, they've been playing some very good football on both sides of the ball. And this is one of those teams where, yeah, they're 9-3, but they're one of those 9-3 teams you can tell can compete and beat a team any day of the week. I mean, look at all the teams that K-State lost to in 2022. They lost to Tulane, TCU, and Texas. Versus Tulane, they lost by 7. TCU, they lost by 10. Texas, they lost by 7. Those are not extremely big margins, and if just a few plays go their way, K-State could certainly be undefeated right now. Moving back to disappointing teams, I'm going to be talking about Miami. Miami heading into 2022 had some pretty big expectations with Mario Cristobal to start off the Cristobal era in Miami. In the preseason AP poll, they were number 16, and they even reached all the way to number 13 before ultimately fluttering out and not being in the AP poll or even any poll of that regard since September 18th. Miami finished the season 5-7, 3-5 in conference play, and overall the team just didn't look the best. They lost to Texas A&M 9-17. Middle Tennessee State, a game that they were supposed to kill them in, 31-45. Barely lost to North Carolina 24-27. Lost to Duke 21-45. Florida State 3-45 in front of a bunch of recruits in a big game versus Florida State at home, and their two most recent losses haven't been close either. Clemson 10-40. Pitt, their most recent game, 16-42. A lot of their losses are by a wide margin, and a lot of their losses have not looked very pretty. This Miami team has not been good in 2022, but I do think things are going to trend upwards eventually as the Cristobal era moves on and on. For the final surprising team that I have in today's video, it's Tennessee. Tennessee going into 2022 was an unranked team. People thought Tennessee could be a very good team for this year as they had some very good pieces and even Hendon Hooker at quarterback. But some people really wanted to see them put it together first, and that could be part of the reason why they started off unranked in the AP preseason poll. However, Tennessee had a great year, 10-2, finished 6-2 in SEC play, and even had a huge win over Alabama, winning 52-49. Now, Tennessee had a really good shot to make the college football playoff during the year, and unfortunately, it kind of fell through their hands in the last few weeks of the season. They did not have the best game versus Georgia, but Georgia is the number one team in the nation as of right now. They lost 13-27, and most recently, the game that ultimately got them eliminated from the college football playoff pretty much altogether was versus South Carolina, in which they lost 38-63. Now, this season is still very good for Tennessee, one of their best ones in a very long time, and they're currently the number 7 team in the nation in the playoff poll. Now, on to the final disappointing team that I have in today's video. This is my most disappointing team in 2022, and it's Texas A&M. Texas A&M heading into the 2022 college football season was off the coattails of the number 1 recruiting class in the nation for the class of 2022. They had a lot of hype heading in the year, coming in at number 6, and the season, it started off pretty rocky. They won their first game 31-0. Then versus Appalachian State, they lost 14-17. Texas A&M would ultimately finish the season at 5-7, with a conference record in the SEC of 2-6. This season was not good. It was good on the defensive side of the ball, in my opinion, but the offensive side of the ball was straight up embarrassing. It seemed like it was one of the worst in all of college football on the D1 FBS level. With how much hype they had into the year and coming off the #1 recruiting class in 2022, all the hype they had, Texas A&M, in my opinion, was the most disappointing team in 2022. Well, guys, if you've made this far in the video, drop something down in the comment section below. Who are your most surprising and disappointing teams in 2022? And before you head out, remember to smash that like button, turn on those post notifications, and subscribe if you haven't already. Be Kelly out.